Before we start today's show, I just want to remind you about our burgeoning, Mike. It's burgeoning. It's a burgeoning fantasy football community over at jointhefoot. Are you Googling that word right now?
Googling burgeoning.
That's grow. I think it means like growing, like a growing, expanding, maturing.
Bursting at the seams.
Bursting at the seams fantasy football community over at jointhefoot.com. Go check it out. You get access to a ton of perks. You help support the show. You connect with literally thousands of like-minded fantasy football players. You don't want to miss it. Burgeoning, Mike.
Which means gerund or present participle. Burgeoning.
Burgeoning.
Begin to grow.
There, begin to grow. There we go.
You got it. We nailed it, man.
Jointhefoot.com.
Hey, this is Al Robinson, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, welcome in.
It's burgeon time.
Burgeoning time.
Burgeon.
Had you never heard that word before, Mike?
I had. I don't know. It caught me off guard.
I mean, I would say it's a collegiate word, but you're really the only one with the degree around here.
Yeah, never forget that.
I guess Jason has one too. I'm the only one without a degree around here. Like I said, it's a high school word.
Jay, you got a degree?
Yeah, Jason has a degree, doesn't he?
We have to wait till he can actually hear us, and then then he'll be able to respond because he's remote.
Oh, what am I responding to?
Did you get your college degree? Did you finish?
I did not the first time, but I went back.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Al, do you have?
We're very sophisticated.
Al, do you
man.
have a degree?
I do not.
Mr. Brooks.
Nope.
All right.
I am the
Wait a
most
minute.
educated
We-
here.
No,
Is this correct?
Mike has one. Mike has a degree.
But we did not vet our employees. We didn't put the must-have college degree.
Just imagine how good it could have been if we had set that
We got
glass
way better people here.
glass ceiling.
I've got the 1-year program. That's what it was.
Oh, the 1-year program.
So that's like a certificate.
Yeah, $9.99.99.
Hey, look, here I am. Got the job done.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, lessons learned.
Welcome to this burgeoning podcast. We've got a great show today. We have some news we got to catch you up on. Big time news. We knew that we might be facing some COVID tumult this season, and we are. We've got buy sell on the show today as well, the Thursday night preview, and we're stepping into the panic room. We're going to bring up some players that people are panicked about 3 weeks into the season. And so let's get into it. Let's get into it. You can find us on Twitter at the FFBallers. Jointhefoot.com is the community. And thefantasyfootballers.com for the rankings, the start-sit tool, the player profiles. We're making some big-time upgrades to the player profiles here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to get some video clips in when we talk about certain players so you can kind of dig deep when you're making those start-sit decisions. Want to do some buy-sell, Mike?
Oh, yes, please.
Let's do it.
Buy or Sell, presented by Pristine Auction.
All right, last week, buy or sell, quick recap. James Conner, a top 15 running back. He finished at RB8, so Mike and Jason nailed it. David Johnson, that's supposed to signify you succeeding there.
Well, we checked with the computer, yes.
Because somebody succeeded on all of these. So
Well, then you could hit your own button.
yeah, you can hit it for me. David Johnson, 10 fantasy points at Pittsburgh. I nailed it. Yeah, that's right. Adam Thielen, a top 10 wide receiver against Tennessee. Mike and I, we both sold it.
I feel like
Jason bought it, and he was
he bought
I was
the
Justin
farm.
Jefferson.
Yeah,
I was
you
Justin
were.
Jefferson away
it wasn't a
from
top
that.
10 wide receiver, right?
Who? Adam Thielen?
Yeah. Oh, we sold it. Yeah, as a
Yes.
top 10. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would push the correct button, but that seems wrong.
I think you should just do it because we were both correct.
You got it.
All right. Week 4 buy sell. You guys ready?
Yep.
Nobody was perfect last week, by the way. So we got to shoot for perfection this week. Amari Cooper, 15 fantasy points against Cleveland.
Ooh.
Now, that seems like a high bar to bet on.
It sure does, considering so far he has not hit that on the season.
Sell.
Yeah, I'm going to sell as well. He has been – so, we make fun of Amari Cooper's consistency. How's this for consistency? 13.1 points week 1, 13.0 points week 2, 13.1 points week 3.
He's finally
take the
he's
under.
doing it. It's just not in the top 10 like people had hoped.
If that's the floor, though, I'll take that floor and then give me that huge game where – has he gotten into the end zone this year with those scores?
I don't
I
remember.
can't remember off the top of my
You
head.
should check that.
I'll vet it.
I'm going to sell. Mike, are you
It's tough to sell that. Like, he's just under it every single
3
week.
weeks in a row,
He has not scored.
so you could bet on a score.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy that Amari Cooper breaks through. He has a decent game, better than a wide receiver 24 finish. It's tough. It's tough for Amari Cooper just because of the way that this offense is running and clicking and firing on all cylinders, and that it's just interchangeable pieces. And now we have the introduction of
Cedric Wilson
over here, who's now just another puzzle piece who he could go off any single week. But I will buy it just to be different and give some Amari Cooper support.
I don't know what people did with Cedric Wilson in the waiver pickup area, but with CeeDee Lamb getting hurt, Wilson taking advantage, I think it's a one-week wonder situation.
It certainly could be. I mean, we had this last year with Devin Smith.
Yeah.
We had the Smith week.
Yeah. Devontae Parker as a top 20 wide receiver against Seattle.
This is a buy.
It's a buy for me,
Oh,
too.
it is.
Seattle's defense has allowed 430 passing yards per game.
Bye. I mean, we're going to talk about him a lot tomorrow. Devontae Parker is someone that, I have Devontae Parker in several leagues. I haven't been able to start him yet, and I can't wait to plug him in my lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some tough matchups and he still looks like the Devontae Parker of last year to me. Darrell Henderson Jr., 120.
Wait, he's a junior now?
As of today.
Okay.
Yeah. 120 total yards against the Giants this week. In week 2, he had 121 total yards. In week 3, 120 total yards. Very nice line here, Brooks. 120 total yards against the Giants.
That's a lot of yards.
It is a lot of yards. I think Darrell Henderson is going to have a very good game. I buy Darrell Henderson, but I'm going to sell the 120 total yards. It's just that's a lot. And so far he's only gone over it by 1 yard. So
Let me see if I can change your mind for you. Sean McVay, when asked if Darrell Henderson will start on Sunday based on his performance the last 2 weeks, he threw out the "I think so."
Oh,
No.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah,
I
just,
thought
no.
you
It
were
was
trying
just,
to
I think so.
win me over.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it.
Darrell Henderson is going to be great this week. You should start him, but 120 total yards, that's a high bar. I think, it's kind of like, I feel like it's one of those bets where you take the field and you just say, yeah, I like this team, but I'm going to take every other team. It's just more common to have games under 120 yards.
Yeah, I don't like that both of you have sold it because now I am backed into a corner. I must buy this. I love Darrell Henderson for this week. He's probably showing up in the starts of the week tomorrow.
All right, that was buy or sell from Pristine Auction. Check out pristineauction.com. Use the code BALLERS. Get a $10 credit. Let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, this is the headline. This is the big news.
Here we go.
And we need more information. But right now, Sunday's game between the Steelers and the Titans has been postponed. Now, don't hear that it's not necessarily happening this week. It won't happen Sunday morning at 10 a.m. There are multiple options for rescheduling. Monday night is an option. That will be based on test results. I assume then if we don't see more results, because there was one more Titans player that tested positive, and so the league decided at that point, hey, we need more time. It could be Monday night. it could end up being something where the bye weeks are moved around and you actually have a Steelers-Titans bye this week. So if we had no more information right now, you are in a tailspin because at this point you're having to roster a bunch of other players with no more information on whether they play Monday night. Hopefully, mercifully, we'll have Thursday, Friday information on whether it is definitively Monday Night Football or completely moving and you can make accommodations for your team.
Yeah, it's some positive news. So far, so good for the Minnesota Vikings. That was the team that played the Titans where we had to, you had to have the concern that it spread into multiple locker rooms. So far, so good for the Vikings. I don't think we're all in the clear yet. We need a couple more days of no positive tests. But the fact that another player
Breaking news.
Oh!
All right.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, Mike.
Brother.
Oh, brother. We have breaking news literally tweeted just now. Ian Rappaport is saying that the game will now be played either Monday or Tuesday.
What?
Rather than Sunday. So
and I assume that Tuesday would count as a Week 4 game still.
It would have to.
Yes, although that will be wild.
Tuesday night.
Welcome to 2020.
Tuesday Night Football.
Oh, man. Okay.
We get a new football time.
Yeah, a day that has never been proclaimed as it's football time Tuesday. Touchdown Tuesday.
But this makes it
back.
even I know Ian Rappaport is reporting it will either be played Monday or Tuesday. But if tests don't lend itself to Monday or Tuesday, it won't be played this week. So
Correct.
You are still in that boat. But you don't have a pivot now. Like if it was Monday, we could be giving the advice that, well, grab some of the players from the Monday night game if you want to hedge against it or something like that. Now you are just you might need to plan away from Steelers and Titans at this point.
You probably do.
But give it the next couple days.
Some of these players are much more difficult to replace. If you've got Derrick Henry, it's really difficult to plug someone else in your lineup. Whereas if you've got Ben Roethlisberger, if you've got Ryan Tannehill, you just go ahead and you stream a different quarterback, and that's easy enough to do. But man, I'm happy that I'm not currently a manager of Derrick Henry on any of my rosters.
Okay, Chris Godwin had his MRI, confirmed a mild hamstring pull, out for Week 4, possibly Week 5. I would count on him out both weeks.
Yeah, Week 5 they are the Thursday night game, so it's the shorter week.
Then he gets 10 days if he skips it.
Yeah, so anticipate Godwin out for 2 weeks.
Deontay Johnson's in the concussion protocol. Now he is a part of that game, so this extra day or two could actually make him active. Dallas Goedert, Jalen Reagor, both placed on short-term IR. We knew that both players were going to be out for quite some time. Henry Ruggs a long shot this week. Bryan Edwards is already out. Hunter Renfrow.
Renfrow.
I mean, he's going to be heavily targeted.
Yes, he is. I mean, Darren, I am the Walrus. Gugu Gajub should have quite a bounce back week here after being shut down by the Patriots. But yes, the not obvious pick would be Hunter Renfrow. Is very interesting now.
You want to get in on some Nelson Aguilar, Jason? Is that on your list of replacements for Corey Davis this week?
No, I mean, I think I would rather just get really sick and barf a lot than have to rely on Nelson Aguilar. But you can choose your path for yourself.
It's barf now, barf later. Yeah. Lev Bell targeting a Week 5 return. It's interesting. I thought about making some trades for Lev Bell. Now let me make the case. I mean, people are very embittered with the start to the season. They invested, no, it wasn't a first or second round pick on Lev Bell, but you still thought he'd be one of your starters. He's coming back here in a couple of weeks, so you could get ahead of acquiring him, and Adam Gase could be gone. And a new head coach.
Good point.
A new head coach coming in. Let me give you a little tip here. Lev Bell greater sign, Frank Gore. Lev Bell greater sign, Kalen Ballage.
This is known to everyone except for Adam Gase.
That's my point. So if right now let's say the Lev Bell manager is 0-3 and needs help now.
Sure.
You could target Lev Bell on the cheap ski. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's possible.
You know, you had me at Adam Gase could be gone. That's really where, because the truth is, leading up to the season, I was, early in the offseason, we were kind of talking about, look, the volume's just going to be there. If he touches the ball, 250 to 300 times over a 16-game season, yeah, he might be not the Lev Bell of old, but he will be decent for fantasy. And then as we approached closer to the season, we realized, look, Frank Gore is going to be a thing. Adam Gase is going to be a thing. And, yeah, I think maybe we get back to the volume play we hoped for in Lev Bell. He hasn't looked spry, so I don't think he's going to be a star, but I think he could be a really solid running back.
Definitely didn't look spry once the hamstring went.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think that's all we have for news right now. We'll break in if Al Borland finds any more COVID-related news. I do want to remind everybody out there as we move into the Panic Room segment about our DFS pass. Now, these guys have been smashing it each and every week. We've got the DFS podcast. If you play DFS, check out dfspass.com. Weekly cash picks, GPP picks. We've got DFS alerts in there, the lineup optimizer. You need to check it out because what we tried to do is we tried to bring you a DFS for the rest of us product. This is not that giant monthly fee to get access to, something that you have to spend a fortune on. This is a one-time fee, and if you bought the UDK, you actually get it at a discount, and you can upgrade on our website, thefantasyfootballers.com. So check out the DFS Pass at dfspass.com, and you will not regret it.
And also, Foot Clan, you got to check out Pristine Auction, today's sponsor. You heard us doing some buy or sell, sponsored by Pristine Auction. Just a little extra bump here. They are the go-to sports memorabilia website. You can find autographs from all of your favorite players. You can find autographs from Hollywood stars, actors and actresses, and just cool stuff. Like, I was on there once.
Christopher Lloyd.
I'm sure there's Christopher Lloyd gear on here. I've seen a really cool shadow box frame, a printout of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and a Nintendo controller. It's this really cool piece, and then it is signed by Mike Tyson. Like, they have really cool stuff there, not just sports. The signatures are always authentic. Great prices, like a signed Amari Cooper jersey, just $64 yesterday. A signed Brandon Ayukin jersey, just $49. PristineAuction.com. Use the registration code BALLERS because when you do that, it lets them know that we sent you, and they're going to give you a $10 credit for your first purchase. What are we laughing at?
I'm laughing because if you're on the YouTube, look, we made a decision today. Jason is remoting into the show. And so on the YouTube, we've had him in the corner of the show, and some feedback came in. They said they want him in his spot. They feel more comfortable with Jason's video in his actual spot on the show. And so we've got him, in his spot. But then we went to the slider cam, which is our panning cam, and he's still in his spot, which I don't know how you wizards back there work that out. I assume he's not moving at all. Okay, they're not. It just surprised me to still see him on the screen. All right, it's Panic Room time. All right, here's what we're doing. That's loud.
Well, you got to let people know you're panicked.
Yeah, that's level 4 panic. Now, there are 4 levels of panic, Mike. I don't know if you knew this. The world of panic levels, it's burgeoning. And so we've got level 1, not panicked. Level 2, somewhat worried. Level 3, we're getting freaked out.
Yeah.
Level 4
is full.
That's full on. Level 4 is that's level 4.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
The alarms are going off.
All right.
And so we're going to bring up some players, and we'll determine what level we're at. DJ Moore. Panthers, wide receiver, through 3 weeks. He's the wide receiver 29. He finished 49th in week 1, 14th in week 2, 50th in week 3. Only one red zone target on the year. He's not been, if there's a Julio Jones in training, it's been DJ Moore in terms of
the touchdowns.
Just doesn't find his way into the end zone.
Sure.
6 touchdowns in 34 career games. We talked about him as a breakout on the basis that, look, these touchdown numbers have to go up with the amount of targets and receptions you're getting. Robbie Anderson right now is the wide receiver 10.
I think that Robbie Anderson is also the reason why people are so freaked out about DJ Moore.
Because there's a reason.
Well, the reason
potentially.
I'm saying not just that there's someone else in this offense, which like that's a natural thing. Someone emerges and becomes another top option for the offense, but they are seeing Robbie Anderson's production, who he has scored, and that's the big difference between DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson is 9th in targets, 14th in yards. He just hasn't scored. He has the 5th most air yards.
You mean DJ Moore, Mike?
Yes, did I say?
You did say Robbie Anderson.
I apologize. Yes, this is DJ Moore. Like, the peripherals are there. He is just not scoring touchdowns. Now, you could say I am panicked because now we have quite the history
of not scoring.
Of DJ Moore not scoring touchdowns. Maybe this is a Julio Jones problem where DJ Moore is going to always have a bunch of receptions, a bunch of yardage. He just won't put up the touchdowns. That may be. But my level of panic on DJ Moore is nothing more than a 2. He is still heavily involved in the offense.
Somewhat worried.
Yeah, it's fair because I was hoping for more touchdowns and buying into the positive touchdown regression for DJ Moore. Meanwhile, the schedule for DJ Moore, Arizona, Atlanta, and like those are two very strong two strong matchups here for DJ Moore and the Carolina Panthers. So I am not freaked out, but it's okay to be a little bit worried through 3 weeks.
I'm closer to level 3 than I am to level 2 because I thought DJ Moore would give me a DJ floor, Mike. And if he doesn't get into the end zone, finishing as the wide receiver 50 2 of his first 3 weeks, it concerns me. It's one of the reasons I wasn't as bullish on Carolina. It wasn't that I didn't think they could do it. It's that I hadn't seen them actually do it with the new head coach, with Robbie Anderson, with Teddy Bridgewater. It concerns me. I'm probably a little more level 3 than level 2. Jason, where are you on the panic scale?
I am a level 1. I am not panicked at all. DJ Moore would be someone that I would be targeting on the cheap. Now, I will say this. The hope for the huge breakout, you're going to have a top 6 wide receiver, a top 10 wide receiver just who's dominant. Sure, I'm not confident in that in the slightest. It does not appear that this is going to be a monster breakout, but I'm also not panicked at all. DJ Moore is going to be great for fantasy this season. The targets, like Mike said, they've been there. He is getting the targets. This last game stunk because the Carolina Panthers were winning, and they won, and they weren't throwing the ball that much. I mean, their leader in targets was their running back. This is not going to be the normal game script for the Carolina Panthers. If you're telling me that he's getting more like what we saw the first 2 games, 9 targets, 13 targets, he's a hyper-talented athlete, a great wide receiver. He'll get his. So I am not worried about DJ Moore at all.
All right, Odell Beckham Jr. Right now he's the wide receiver 38 on the season. It's looking pretty similar to last year to me with Odell Beckham Jr. Now, panic is relative to expectation. I would say that this is a difficult one. I mean, he was 15th last week, 47th last week, 15th the week before against Cincinnati. He gets to play Dallas this week. 22 targets. You always have those peripherals with Odell where he's got the 6th highest target share in football, 28%, 5th highest air yards share. But these have been there for him. I mean, he's been a high target share guy in Cleveland. It just hasn't equated to very much. 7.9 fantasy points, then 15 the week before, then 3. He's come out and said he knows he's not going to put up prolific numbers in this offense with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So define panic on Odell Beckham and what that means, because I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, you have to just accept the tier adjustment for Odell Beckham. I don't think that the talent has changed. I think that he could be a dominant wide receiver if he were in a different situation, but the situation has strongly capped what is going to happen with Odell Beckham. I was a big supporter of Baker Mayfield. It's not looking great. Like for Baker to be that number one pick that the Cleveland Browns thought they were getting. I think he'll be fine, but you got to grow more and more concerned as you've from last year's performance from Baker, 3 games of you're like, okay, he's fine, he's fine-ish starting quarterback. This team can win with him, but you're not going to get numbers from Odell Beckham. So it's once you have adjusted him down to, okay, Odell Beckham is a lower-end wide receiver too, then I'm not panicked. If you are still hoping that you have a top 10 guy, you should be freaked out. You should be on DEFCON 4 here because it's not going to happen.
I think go ahead, Jay.
The combination here of the Browns being a good team as far as their defense looks good. Their offensive line and running backs are great. They don't want to use Odell Beckham the way that fantasy managers want Odell Beckham used, and you're going to get a lot more bad games than good games. And so yeah, I'm a 3 here. Mike laid it out well. It's about expectation, but Odell Beckham is not a top 15 wide receiver and won't be while he's a Brown.
Yeah, I think most games are going to end up being – I mean, the difference between last week where he was outside the top 40 and the week before where he was inside the top 15 was essentially connecting on one deep shot. You're going to have some play action. You're going to have a deep shot or two. If Beckham hits the deep shot, you're going to be happy that week. And if he doesn't, you haven't seen volume in Cleveland to sustain, hope for a top-tier wide receiver. So that would put him at 2-3 range if you're looking at it in terms of hoping the injury problems fixed Odell Beckham and he would be a top-tier guy. And this is a big week, though. Dallas is bleeding points to the wide receiver position. If Beckham can't get it done in week 3 in Dallas, where Dallas will put up points against Cleveland, that would be I think it's going to be a good week for Beckham.
Yeah, I agree. After saying we're super worried and over the course of the season, it's not going to be good for Beckham. It is going to be good this week because Dallas doesn't have any kind of lockdown corner that scares you at all, and they'll be able to score on the Browns' defense. So they will need Odell Beckham this week despite the fact that they want to be a run-first team.
Let me put you on the spot here. You have to lock a wide receiver into your roster for the rest of the season. Their name is either Odell Beckham Jr. or Robbie Anderson. Lock them in.
Robbie Anderson. Jason, who are you putting in?
Wow.
Oh, man.
That was quite the sound you made with your mouth.
That was an elephant.
It was. I never forget, and there's a lot that I want to forget with both of these players. If I had to lock one in rest of season, it would be Robbie Anderson.
Okay. I would go Beckham.
Would you?
Yeah.
All right.
But it's close. I'm not saying it's
Yeah, I get that. This is the wild thing about fantasy football. In 3 weeks in, you got to start making some adjustments, some expectation adjustments, and I like Robbie Anderson's outlook moving forward.
Hollywood Brown. This is a big time. This is a big one. There's a lot to unpack here. Marquise Hollywood Brown. It has not been good. Wide receiver 57 on the season. No fantasy finish in the first 3 weeks above 25, which was week 1. 62, 96. That is a whatever the opposite of heating up is, he's doing it right now. 25, 62, 96.
Cooling off.
Nice, Mike. Genius.
What's the opposite of hot? Anybody?
Anybody?
Help me out here.
Somebody.
Brooks, can you look that up?
I've been working it out. Very nice.
Yeah, look,
it's just been terrible. His snaps are up from last year. But the more to unpack is that Lamar Jackson is 32nd in the NFL in passing yardage. Lamar Jackson hasn't looked the same. We knew regression was coming because it comes for all, whether you're Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson. But I think we thought, hey, the snap count increase, the maturation in the passing game for Lamar would equate to a lot more than Hollywood. I am a full where you drafted, I guess I'm a level 3 I'm a level 3 getting freaked out with Hollywood Brown because we hope more consistency, and you've got no consistency.
Yeah, Jason, where are you at?
Yeah, I look, he's my guy. I love Hollywood Brown, and obviously I have hated the first 3 weeks. But I did not ever view him as someone that was going to be a consistent wide receiver. He's going to have monster games and then go away for some games like most wide receivers do. He's much more in the young Deshaun Jackson vein than someone that's just a PPR machine. He's got a 24% target share. He's got the 7 most deep targets in the league. You look at, week 1, he was involved. He had over 100 yards by halftime, and then they didn't really need him. Week 2 was disappointing. And then this last week, we all watched that game against Kansas City. He connects on that deep ball touchdown towards the end of the game, and all of a sudden he's probably has his best week of the season. So I'm not, I'm a 2. I'm not worried at all. I am a little bit worried. My worry is more on Lamar Jackson. I haven't seen anything from Marquise Brown that's made me think he's not the player I hope he is. What's going on is Lamar hasn't looked as crisp. He, like you said, he's 32nd in passing yards. He's the 32nd best, and I would hope for.
I have a correction on that. He's 27th, not 32nd.
Oh, way better.
Kyle the Borgogan was super wrong. He's actually 27th.
We're warming up. So yeah, I'm worried, but I think at the end of the season, you're going to have plenty of games that are outside the top 50.
Yeah, but
and then
do you know when to start him? That's the problem.
Every week. This is the type of player that you have to take your lumps with. It depends on how you construct a roster, but I have very commonly had, really reliable my Robert Woods and my Julio Jones type players, and I supplement them with a Hollywood Brown type where, he might disappoint or he might win you a week, but you pretty much have to take the lumps if you want the good games. I mean, I'm not benching Hollywood because he's not great every single game.
Any games yet.
Yeah, unfortunate.
How about this, Jason? I've got a real novel, incredible question for you. You ready? You have to lock a wide receiver into your roster the rest of the season. Hollywood Brown or Robbie Anderson?
I would go Hollywood Brown. That one is so easy for me, and maybe it's a little bit of hoping because of my passion for Hollywood. But I if you told me rest of season who scores more total fantasy points, I'll take a bet with you on Hollywood versus Robbie Anderson.
I'll take a bet with you on Hollywood versus Odell Beckham Jr. rest of season based on the fact you answered Robbie on one and Hollywood on the other.
Let's go.
Water bet.
More bets with Beckham. Great.
What are you doing to yourself, man?
More bets with Beckham. Well, I just think it just seems a little bit wild where we've had a good game from Beckham. We haven't had one from Hollywood, and Hollywood was really inconsistent last year. I just know as a fantasy manager, you have to have some cojones to lock a player into your lineup that just gave you a 2-point game and a 6-point game before that. Are you viewing it as he's a must start still, Mike?
I view him the same way Jason does, yeah, that if you have Hollywood Brown, you're not playing matchups. You aren't saying, well, they've got a great corner here. Maybe I don't play him. Oh, I want to play him here. No, it's you have to play him every single week, or you're just you will chase the dragon and you'll be wrong, and more often than you'll be right. You just gotta deal with it.
Okay. I mean, it's tough. Hollywood's really tough because I feel like there isn't evidence yet in his career of him being worth playing consistently. Like last year, even though he missed some time, he had 3 games in all of last year when active where he was a top 12 wide receiver. So I'm trying to figure out what is the foundation for putting him into your lineup.
Let me ask you this, because I think we're about to talk about a teammate, and it really comes down to what do you believe about Lamar Jackson? Not him as a fantasy asset, as a mobile quarterback, but as a passer. Do you think what we've seen through these first 3 weeks is what we'll have for the season from Lamar Jackson, the passer, or do you think Lamar Jackson will get it together, not be the 27th ranked passing yards guy, throw for, around a 30 touchdown pace. What do you guys think about Lamar Jackson's passing ability in 2020?
I do not think it comes down to that. I certainly think it's going to be much, much better. But it doesn't come down to that for me because he was outstanding last year, and Hollywood was not a consistent play, nor a person you could – he hasn't proven to me – like I don't understand why you wouldn't take the prove-it-to-me approach with Hollywood Brown. I'm really not trying to be difficult, but I'm looking at his game log last year, not the games he missed, the games he played, and I see 3 times in the last 8-9 weeks that you would have wanted to play him. So I think Lamar gets a lot better, but I would rather put somebody in that I know is going to produce.
Yeah, the context of that game log is part of why I liked Hollywood Brown. Comes on, was great, got injured, was very limited snap counts. When they needed him towards the end of that season, look in the playoffs, he was just outstanding. It's kind of a talent plus quarterback situation. And so the next player we're talking about, Mark Andrews. What's the panic? Are we panicked about Mark Andrews? Because you look at both of these players, Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, their week 2 and week 3 stunk. 3 points in week 2 for Mark Andrews, 3 points in week 3 for Mark Andrews. And I get it. We saw last year great consistency. Mark Andrews has that baseline we don't have with Hollywood. But it's Lamar Jackson's lack of passing in the offense that's really bringing these Ravens receivers down.
I'm not panic on – I'm a level 1 on Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm level 1 for Mark Andrews as well. The opportunity is there. He's getting targets in the end zone. We saw it happen. He just
fourth highest target share among tight ends right now.
He didn't come down with the couple shots. So no, I'm not panicked on Mark Andrews, especially when you factor in like the landscape of tight ends. You got to be in on Mark Andrews.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say you have Noah Fant. Are you trying to go after Mark Andrews?
Yes.
Are you trying to buy low, package Noah Fant with some other option and get Mark Andrews? Because that's what I would be doing.
Yes, absolutely. Agree with it completely. I'll be ripping deals right now because I don't want to lean on the roulette of Denver quarterback situation.
That's the biggest reason I would be making that. Going with that. Go ahead, Jay.
Fant was just an example. If you've got, Hawkinson, if you've got Gesicki, if you've got Jonnu Smith, if you've got a tight end that looks like they could be something, you're not sure, would you be trying to package them to buy low on Mark Andrews is more the question.
Yeah, those other guys, absolutely. Fant is interesting to me specifically. I don't know. My confidence in Noah Fant, the player, is absolutely sky high, but the unfortunate circumstance he has found himself in with the quarterbacks, that's why I would make the move. Now, if you're like –
it's called the Dwayne Haskins effect to Logan Thomas's target share.
If Drew Lock had never gotten hurt in that week, would I be packaging Noah Fant plus something for Mark Andrews? Probably not.
I agree with you.
I would be keeping my depth piece with Cortland Sutton out, Noah Fant with consistent quarterback play and opportunity. Noah Fant will be great, and I still think that Noah Fant is he's a locked-in like top 8, probably even a top 5 guy to me. That's how I see him if he had Drew Lock never get hurt. So he's a little bit different to me than when you're comparing Gesicki and Jonnu Smith.
But he's the guy, Jason, he's the best example because he's the player you can craft the narrative to acquire Mark Andrews with. All you do is tell somebody, do you want Noah Fant? He's the number 3 tight end. So, by the way, NFL statement on the Titans-Steelers game. I'm going to read this to you. The Steelers-Titans game, originally scheduled for Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, will be rescheduled to allow additional time for further testing and to ensure the health and safety of the players. Details on the new game date and time on either Monday or Tuesday will be announced as soon as possible. So we should have an opportunity very soon to know when that game is locked in, which could really change the equation quite a bit. So I think at this point we should maybe jump into the Thursday night preview and spend as little time there as humanly possible.
Thursday Night Breakdown.
All right, Mike. Mike, we are contractually required to speak about this due to it being considered a quote-unquote NFL game.
Allegedly.
We have you know what? I'm going to change my tune on this. I'm going to change it right now. You want to know why?
I like it.
Here's why I'm going to change my tune.
Positivity. Give it to me.
We would have climbed a mountain to watch this game 5 months ago.
You're darn right we would have.
Because we didn't think we'd have football. But we've got football, and this is called football. It's Thursday night football. Are you going to say football time tomorrow, Mike?
Yeah.
See? See? Let's go.
I will.
Let's go. Okay.
It's football
Yeah, there might be like a
time.
question mark.
A little bit of a pubescent voice when you say it. All right. The 0-3 Denver Broncos take on the 0-3 New York Jets. Here's what's on the line. If Adam Gase loses this game, he could be out on his keister.
He could be gone.
And so we get to watch Sam Darnold face Brett Rippin. And, well, there you go. Vic Fangio doesn't even know his quarterback's name. So he called him Mark Rippin. You guys remember Mark Rippin? Either of you do?
Oh, yeah.
The name's familiar.
Yeah, I mean, Washington Redskins, if you grew up watching football, quarterback for the Redskins.
Oh.
So he was actually he was great. He was a good quarterback.
All right.
But this is his son, and Vic thought it might be his father when he called him Mark. But here we are. Fantasy-wise, that is what we do. We talk about fantasy options for this game. You are looking at
All right, great news. The quarterbacks are out.
the quarterbacks are out. Get them out of there.
Yep.
Melvin Gordon, I actually think I'm quite content, happy to play Melvin Gordon. He will bounce back in this game because it's the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Gore, he's averaging 18 rushes a game. He must be a start, right, Jason? Jason?
Nope. No, I'm not starting Frank Gore.
No, I'm not either.
You've got the 30th in points per drive versus the 32nd in points per drive. Outside of Melvin Gordon, I might start Jerry Jeudy if in a pinch, in a desperate situation, and Noah Fant, and then whoever the PPR wide receiver is, whether it's Crowder if he's in or Berrios if he's out.
Yeah, so where are you, Andy, on Braxton Berrios? Let's go through the exercise. Jamison Crowder ruled out.
Yeah.
It still is Sam Darnold, so it's it's at least
it's
their starting quarterback. The Denver Broncos currently 28th against fantasy wide receivers. There's an opportunity here. Would you go Braxton Berrios or Hunter Renfrow?
Renfrow. Case closed.
That was too easy.
It was too easy. Here, Berrios is setting up, unfortunately, like a trap.
Berrios or Sammy Watkins?
Watkins. I just chose Watkins in a start set on this show.
I thought it would be closer.
That was smart. No, here's the problem. It's Braxton Berrios. And the last 2 weeks, his fantasy production, while respectable, 16th, 24th. You should start him, right? I mean, he scored both weeks. If he doesn't score, you're going to sit there with a 5 or 6 point week with Braxton Berrios, and you have – it just seems like it's a desperation PPR dart throw despite the past 2 weeks. I've turned the corner on Berrios.
Who's winning?
It's chasing points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're going based off the past and saying, oh, man, I don't want to miss out on his touchdown last week. Well, guess what? You did. So move on.
I would rather chase points here. Which I've never said before.
All right, I also have another very difficult question. Who wins this game?
I think it's probably the Jets, unfortunately.
Jason, who wins this game?
I believe it will be the Broncos, but the entire world is rooting for the Broncos to win, and this is where Adam Gase comes through and keeps his job and wins the game. But I think the better roster is, even with the third-string quarterback, who is not as good, as Sam Darnold. I think the team and the coaching and everything else is better on the Broncos side.
Mike?
I think the Jets win.
A reminder to take your Thursday night players out of the flex
Or just out of your lineups altogether.
or out of your lineup.
You could do that.
Take Melvin Gordon out of your flex, put him in your running back spot because
Yes.
he might be in as a flex.
Yeah.
That way you have some room to move. Looks like we'll have a game on Monday or Tuesday as of right now with the Titans game, so that'd be good. Brooks, is there any real key Thursday night players that you've been just dying to hear us break down?
Nope.
All right,
You
let's do some mailbag.
Mailbag.
All right. If you have a question, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click the submit a question button or dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We have a voicemail question to kick us off.
Hey guys, big fan of the show. Been listening for 3 years now. I had a commissioner question. 2 guys in my league who dropped David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell this week. What should I do? We think that's kind of crazy. Thanks.
So some rage drops, some rage quitters.
Why would you drop
Man,
DJ?
what do you do?
That's so bizarre. He's
He's
what?
great. He's been good.
I mean, he hasn't been like outstanding, but he's been
Well, and
passable.
they started the year, what, Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers?
Yeah,
I mean,
and looking at our strength of schedule tool, like he's set up for some good matchups here. I think the question
is more like, what do you do as a commissioner, Mike, in a situation where somebody drops an undroppable? What do? You just let everybody bid on that player, or do you put them back on the roster?
I guess
it's pretty arbitrary.
Why I was working through it is like David Johnson. I don't get it. Le'Veon Bell. Let's say you have. We don't know the size of this bench. Maybe you don't have an IR slot, and you're like, I don't want to hold on to Le'Veon Bell. I'm just going to drop him. To me, you can make the case for it. I wouldn't do it. I don't advise anybody to do that, but you can at least make the case. David Johnson simply doesn't make sense. So I guess I needed to work through that process first. But so how do you handle that as a commissioner? You don't. I mean, you let it happen. Hopefully you have fab. Hopefully you don't have waiver priority that's just resetting every single week. So the worst team gets to pick up all these players for free. I wouldn't do anything. I mean, I remember we had back quite a few years ago in the League of Record, David Wilson. If you remember
I remember David Wilson,
running back for the Giants. He was a first-round pick at the time of our draft. I can't remember who his teammate was, but like he broke his leg in the preseason week 3. And all of a sudden, David Wilson's the starter. That's the year. Then David Wilson comes out. He fumbles right away because
full fab went out on David Wilson.
And Wilson was drafted. Coughlin benches him because got to be a man. You got to teach him a lesson. Someone in our league dropped David Wilson, and it seemed like the stupidest thing that anybody had ever done. And there was a hullabaloo about it. Someone dropped the full 100 here on David Wilson, and it was completely the incorrect decision. David Wilson never did anything that entire season or his career. So I'm just letting this play out.
If it was done, though, by a manager that's giving up. Because that could happen. That happens in leagues. Somebody is furious. They're upset. They don't like the league. They dump all the players. At that point, you got to put them back on the roster and bring in a new.
If it's a full roster dump, then
manager,
then yeah, you have to put them in, put the players back. You have to lock that team, and you have to unfortunately remove that person, which is easier said than done because it might be your friend.
One more question from John in Arizona. Should I trade James Robinson for Joe Mixon right now?
Oh man, that is a tough question because James Robinson has been so good. So we have the details. This is an 8-person league. So in an 8-team league, I think I would make the move. I would make the move, grab Joe Mixon, hope you can weather out this storm. This is exactly what happened to Joe Mixon last year. He was terrible to start the year. Joe Burrow looks like a legitimate franchise quarterback. I know Jason was showering him with praise earlier, maybe a couple weeks ago, but I'm with him. Joe Burrow looks fantastic. The attempts are there for Joe Mixon. The running back share is there. I think the touchdowns will end up they will end up coming for Joe Mixon. So I'm willing to take this chance because I think that the ceiling, should Joe Mixon hit it, is higher than what James Robinson can sustain with Jacksonville.
It's 0 touchdowns for Mixon on the year so far, 3 for James Robinson across 3 games.
Right.
That is the majority difference. I would do the deal. I would rather have Joe Mixon rest of season.
It's tough, though. That'll be a tough trade to actually hit the accept button on.
Yeah. Those are the toughest ones when you have a player that's playing really well and a player that isn't, and you're making a gamble. You're betting. All right, later today we've got the Footcast, the bonus weekly episode of the show. You can get access to that at jointhefoot.com. Tomorrow we've got matchups. We've got starts of the week, taking it to 100 players. It's going to be a great episode tomorrow. Make sure you tune in, subscribe. We'll talk to you then.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.